is 7:20, and we'll continue the selectmen's meeting. And I'll entertain, gentlemen, some minutes.
Yeah, I'll approve the minutes for the April 4th, 2019 meeting as amended.
I'll second Bob's motion.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And for the record, we do have, for the public portion, we do have all three selectmen present. We have the recording secretary, town administrator, and Mr. Leo Martell recording for the public. Our opening salvo was in the other room for the non-public.
So we have public comment next, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Public comment?
Did you put me on the agenda?
You're on the agenda, so we're gonna go right to it in a minute, okay? Leo, nothing for us?
No, thank you. Make a motion on that donation?
Yeah, if you, Lean, do you have some money for us?
I do, I received a $50 check as a donation to the Energy
Okay,
Committee.
Dave, you're on.
Okay, I'll make a motion per RSA 31:95-B, Roman numeral 3, paragraph B, to accept a donation to Dunbarton Energy Committee in the amount of $50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that was probably some extra money they collected this past weekend. I said the energy fair was, it appeared we had a good weather and the turnout was moderate. The amount of exhibitors were half the amount from last year. And I think as we go forward, we may wanna consider maybe doing it every other year. Because I think it just didn't have the pizzazz it had the previous year. So something to consider as we go forward. All right, Deb, you're up.
Do you want me to, Deborah Chartier?
Deb, yeah, Deb.
School board, I'm
Friday,
chair again, so I'm the chair for another year. So we had our meeting the other week, and we were just sort of talking about how, once again, we are coming up to the June tax bill, which is, going to be low. And because of all the things that happened, and one of the things that kind of came up from our perspective, there's actually a couple things. One is, would the selectmen be interested in the school board sending some sort of letter with the tax bills, to kind of remind people that this tax bill is kind of artificially low, and, just to kind of reiterate, some of the or if you guys wanna do that, we just wanted to know if that was something you were interested in.
Can I just speak on it?
Yes, because there's a.
Yeah, there is an RSA that the town has to adopt to include additional information with the tax bill. We've
Okay.
not adopted that, so it would have to be a separate letter.
Does it
Okay,
have to be adopted at town meeting?
I think so, yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so that takes that off the
But
table.
the thing is, I'd be in favor of making sure that we have an article on hot topics.
Okay.
Keep it on the front page for this remaining of the year.
Okay,
And I'd be in favor of developing a handout which the tax collector, the tax clerk,
All the counties.
all the
do.
counters could have that, like, information sheet, that when people do come in, they're not gonna come in June, they'll be happy in June. It's in November when they're gonna
Right.
get upset.
it's that little reminder that
What about
when
the
you're happy in
school
June,
bells?
Yeah,
And
What about the school bells notice? When does that go out, like?
it went out before school district meeting.
So
Can I
yes.
just-
It was just a once a year.
Okay.
can I just bring something else up? The town is, we have to pay for our mailings, and we apply for the permit, but the school, you have special, rights for nonprofit, and that might be able to be mailed at a very affordable rate if it's a postcard or.
Yeah, we had, we do
Standard
get a
letter.
discount, but it still, costs money. But, okay, I'll bring it back to the board and see if they wanna send out a mailer. We may wanna wait and send a mailer closer to the December bill and maybe just have some reminders that you guys can put out on the counters.
Yep,
And,
yep.
just keep it in the hot topics, we can give you a little write-up on that.
Okay, that would be
Um,
great.
That's a good idea, because I'm actually getting ready to work on the warrant now, cause it's gonna be, in the tax collector's office 2 weeks before it goes out in the mail. So we give 30 days to the taxpayer, which is July 1st, to June 1st, so we're already there, mid-May, it's gonna be ready to go out,
But as
so.
May is, everyone's gonna be happy with the June bill.
Right, right. Which, actually leads to another question. Dwayne sent out a little bit early the drawdown schedule.
Yeah, we received it.
Okay, and one of the things was, to, you know, and this is that awkward question of people who work together is, so you guys don't feel that with the lower collection in June, that there's gonna be any problem paying the drawdown?
Paying the bills.
That you're gonna have enough,
Yes, yeah.
enough
Do
to.
you
to pay.
recall the, amount of that first payment in June? Because the tax bills, or the tax payments start rolling in like the third week of June. As soon as they
Right.
get them, people will start
Right,
paying.
I don't
just
remember, I
write
know
down.
that, I saw it, I looked at it when Dwayne sent it out
Yeah,
last week, but I didn't look at it again, but,
You
it was
don't
just
want us
us.
to short you.
No, unfortunately, we still have bills to pay too,
Okay.
so,
Well, the thing is, the fact that we have a reserve,
Correct.
that is designed to help us out in this situation.
I think it will, and what I will do is I'll remind the treasurer, she's been doing this investment thing with CDs for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So we'll go over that drawdown
Okay.
schedule tomorrow, cause she's just getting back from vacation, and I'll remind her that she needs to make sure that
Get capital.
her bank account will cover those June, because you don't have that extra reserve to play with, and I'll let her know that it was
okay.
just a request from the school board. I
Yeah,
don't
we just
think
wanted to make sure that we were all kind of on the same page with that, cause if you do put something in investment, you can't take it out, and that's when you need it.
Correct.
Just because, again, you are collecting a little bit less than you normally would.
You got that rainy day fund to use for.
And we just didn't know what your reserve was.
You just can't have
Right,
time.
yep,
What it is now. That's, we're gonna make sure we cover it. We
Okay.
don't want any vouchers.
Yeah, okay. So that's all I had, unless you guys had questions for me on anything, and other than that, it was just like a check-in, you know, I'll come back
Yeah.
in May.
No, I
as
think it's,
well.
That's great.
I think everything's working well. Grass season is coming up. Just to remind we have the same grass cutter on board.
Okay.
Maintenance line.
Yeah.
If there's any issues, just keep the lines of communication open.
Okay.
If
I'll
they
let
can't get a
him know.
hold of him directly, Lean can be the conduit, but
Okay.
he's available to be contacted directly. He's
Okay.
introduced himself to the principal already.
Okay,
And he's willing to come over if you're doing a special activity and they need it
Okay.
spruced up, more than happy.
okay,
So,
I'll let Owen know.
yeah.
Perfect.
You know, if there's any little areas that, you see leaves built up or that aren't getting weed whacked, or, you know, we had a few areas last year we talked about and they were cleaned up nicely after we talked with them.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very amenable to do it, working with you.
Things
Okay.
that had been gone left over for years, you know, up against the building and stuff.
Right.
and it Wasn't really, when it started, it was something he took over, so if you see any of that, especially with your new building design there,
Right, if they're, yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't know where there are flowers there and he's not supposed to eat whacker or something like that, yeah.
yeah,
I'll
I noticed
tell
they're
Mark.
all over in the back there, so.
Yeah,
You know what I can have him do is meet with either the janitor or someone and have someone walk around. I think they did that last year, they did
yeah,
a
if they
walk
meet
around.
with Lee, that would be,
I think that would be just a
Yeah.
prudent, as we start the new
Yeah,
grass season.
Yeah.
First, okay.
and that way they can sort of talk about the problem areas that Lee might see,
Sure.
okay.
So we're in. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in. And
Thank you.
we'll, thank you for giving us a heads up so we don't run dry.
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those things, you just gotta do it.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Okay, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to town business, and I asked Linda to come down, and she came down perfectly on time.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk about welfare.
Yeah,
And if you recall, in the minutes last week, we had consensus to go with a 3-year term, but I think, I'm gonna speak for Linda. Linda would like to probably do a little more research on the state level, and so if we could just leave it at 1 year until we really get it down to a science.
I think that's the better way to do it, because if you do a 3-year term now, you're gonna have to undo all the way back. Let's just research it and do it right once.
Okay,
I would
I need to get the minutes sent to you so you can at least have what I found, to complement what you can find.
What I did find, and I have spent buku time, when you know about it stopped happening in 2005.
Right.
So, here, let me distribute some history and some statutes to you. I feel like I'm in school, I'm handing out a test paper. Here you go. You're welcome. So the statutes that cover the optional offices, an overseer of welfare is one. They do not say anything about appointments. They do specify elected. The only time they talk about appointments is if there's a vacancy in the office. But we have to go back, we have to backtrack now and find out, I'm still trying to find out how it went from
Did Mike give you his background?
He did, he showed that to me today, and I wanna get a copy of that. But we began electing at open meeting, the overseer of welfare in 1941. I've given you copies here, the landscape copies of the minutes of the town meeting from 1940 and from 1941. So if you start with 1940, you'll see, they say the following named officers were elected in open meeting. Nowhere is overseer of welfare mentioned. Article 7 talks about collecting money for the town poor, the dependent soldiers, and old age assistants. That's the 1940 minutes of the town meeting. Then in 1941, the position first showed up as a position. At the time, it was not called overseer of welfare, it was called overseer of the poor. I gave you a copy, didn't I? It was called overseer of the poor. I did not take the time to research when it changed from poor to welfare. But I found our starting point in Dunbarton's history. So from 1941 up until 2004, this was done at the open town meeting. If you look at those statutes, which ones, because they're all over the place.
It's the last page, you think?
Not the last page, because that's discontinuing. The one that's got the first one, 41:2, and it says, in addition, towns required to elect. And keeps saying elect in that statute. And if you go to the one that has the blue and the yellow on it, the 669:17, it also talks about electing, and it says by any means, and it talks about the election happening at the meeting. The blue is just to show you the only time I see the word appointment associated with overseer of welfare so far in my research is when it involves a vacancy. That's the only time. That this talks about election, and it says by any means. So by any means would be at the floor, as we had been doing since 1941 till 2004. Or I'm assuming you can do it by ballot. I don't know if the town has to vote to make it a balloted position if the town so chose to go that route. I
What
don't
about
know.
the discontinuing?
So if you opt to discontinue it, there's a procedure for that. That required, may choose, discontinuance. When a town votes to discontinue, and those are the operative words, the town has to vote to discontinue. But I'd have to investigate further, because it doesn't say the governing body, it doesn't say the legislative body, it says the town collectively.
And that's what, when I interviewed Fred Mullins, he claimed that there was discussion at the 2005 meeting, and the town agreed not to pursue voting that.
But-
That may have been an open vote, but the thing is, but the challenge is, it wasn't documented in
It
the
wasn't
minutes.
documented, and these were detailed minutes. I included dialogue, and there was nothing in these minutes.
So we have a disconnect between what Fred recalls and what the minutes
And what,
reflect.
and like I said, I can see if I still have, I used to do them on cassette tapes at the time. I can see if those tapes are still floating around. We're not required to keep them. I used to tape over them to save, they're buying tapes all the time. So it could very well have been taped over. But regardless of if we can't find it, we still, there is a procedure. If you want to discontinue it, my recommendation to the board would be, think about this, if you want to discontinue it, it really should be done at the next annual meeting by a vote of the people. And in the meantime, decide what your options are, if you want to make an appointment. The municipal association, Lean, had given me something from them, and none of the statutes really pertain from what I can see. I pulled all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that they cited.
I thought he meant, did he cite this 41:2?
41-2 is,
Which is choice and duties of town officers?
yeah, I've had that one, yeah. And that's just, it says, required to elect.
But it says town
People use
may,
our new
the
town
key word is
attorney
may,
like to just say for
May,
that last
which means it doesn't,
669
it can choose either
Yeah,
way.
For us,
Yeah.
and then we'll.
Once you do it, you have to discontinue it officially.
Okay,
You
And we
can't like
already-
do it,
we already
elect
decided
this
to
year,
appoint
appoint
for the
next
next
year,
year.
elect, appoint, you can't alter it. Once you go one route, you can't,
Yeah.
you have to undo it by official means. So that
And
is,
the question is, if it wasn't, if you would talk to Fred, if Fred specifically recalled it,
right,
and if you can't, I don't think you're gonna find, it's gonna be difficult to recall, if you can find it, great, if you can't, I think,
I'm not gonna rip my house apart looking for
no,
a tape
I
from
think,
2005.
I think we have consensus here that, we continue on with the 1 year, do some housekeeping voting next year in open forum.
And actually, a few weeks ago, that's where I thought it had been left, that,
Well,
We talked about it a few
and that's
weeks
what I
ago.
thought it was too, until I went into Fred, and when he specifically said he recalled, I took the man at his word.
yeah.
So what are you recommending? We put it on as a warrant and
No, I'd say we could do that open forum.
At the end of the
for
meeting,
other
yeah,
business?
yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Well, and what I have to check, because as you know, only certain things can go on as warrant articles, only certain things can go on open meeting. It could go on other business at the end, like they
Right.
said, but by then there's just a handful of people there to vote on it. So that's where the timeframe of doing our homework comes in.
The problem is, it appears that since 2004, for the last, looks like
They've been appointed.
16 years, they've been appointed. And so, the thing is that, I'm gonna use a term that I picked up today, we're continuing business as usual, doing it incorrectly,
Past practice.
past practice.
And that could be very acceptable, but there's gotta be something put in when the decision is made, if that's the okay way to make it.
Right.
You know,
We're gonna go
I
to-
just don't know if that's.
We're gonna get an attorney to decipher that
And
669.
this opinion from municipal association was really not helpful at all.
No,
I
it-
did not find it helpful.
No, in fact,
at
I found the RSA a little more helpful in the sense that, yes, the town can, we can, as a selectman, can appoint, and doesn't have to be a town official, it can be in the region, it could be at a countywide if you so desire. And I think that's what happened along the way, however, the point was, when did we discontinue it? And I have a town auditor, previous town auditor saying we
all.
did.
So if it was never officially discontinued, so you just wanna make it official. Because when we're gone, somebody's gonna be doing the research and there's gonna be a big hole somewhere.
Well, that's
So
why,
this is to fill in
that's
the
why I
blanks
documented,
and clean it up.
I documented Fred's interview, but what you're challenging Fred's interview is what
I
you
am.
do. Yeah.
Because I tape record every meeting. And I would not leave something as significant as doing away with an elected position out of minutes.
And with that said, I have a question for you.
That's
Have you got the minutes done for the state?
already done and uploaded.
That only because it was a short meeting this year, so it should have been pretty
It
quick.
doesn't matter how short or long it is, I still have to listen to them over and over again. The acoustics are terrible and they're very difficult to hear. There are parts I just could not understand at all. It takes days to do that. They're done and they're uploaded.
Next year, they're supposed to improve that.
And I asked them to, actually, I spoke with Jeff Moody on that, and I explained to him how difficult it was to take minutes because of the acoustics. And he very graciously said he would look into something, an internal recording, so that I don't
And
have to
when the mic would
rely,
actually record it.
so that we don't have to rely on those little recorders. That'll make a big difference.
So we make it a win-win from both external and internal. Good.
Correct, and I would still use the small recorder to pick up anything,
It's it.
yeah. But they're done and they've been done and uploaded.
Okay, so gentlemen, can I say we have consensus, following the recommendation from the town clerk at this time?
Sure.
The thing is, I like Dave's idea too, that we're pursuing new legal advice and, a firm, and that's something they can also chime in on too.
And I thank you for going through the minutes, there was no way I could go through a year's worth of selecting minutes.
Believe me, it was,
Mind numbing,
yes.
yes.
And the thing is, I found more dirt in this town than you can
And
shake a stick
I'm
at.
actually surprised that was even in the minutes, because sometimes stuff just didn't get
Oh,
written
and the
down.
thing is, I may have missed stuff, but I tried to go every year to see, some years they were appointed, some years they just apparently forgot about it,
Who,
the selectmen.
some years who were appointed,
Some years they were appointed for a year, they oversee the welfare, and some years they were not. And it was sporadic as far as,
you know, actually there was up until lately, I just took it at the board's word, because for a long time we had the same board, and so I just assumed incorrectly that they knew what they were talking about when they said, yeah, this one 3 years, this one 2 years. I never looked into it, and as I began reading RSAs, I began saying, oh my gosh,
Right.
that's not how it's supposed to go.
Although I did learn one thing though,
What's
that it was gonna help Dave for next year. Dave, list all the appointees in one sentence and make one motion. It was what they did in the past minutes. I saw that they listed all the appointments and a motion was made to accept them all.
Yeah, but we did that on the ones at the year term
Changed.
Yeah.
change, so
But-
I could only group them up in small
Right,
groups.
and that was a typo, that was a overwriting, you know, copy and
Okay,
paste.
and speaking of, we also found out that, the KFC forest needs to be 3 years.
That was the one that I copied and pasted, and they never changed the term.
Correct.
The term has been changed, and the forms have your signature. They're all
Okay,
Can I just ask, Linda, you said you've uploaded the minutes?
Mhm.
Would, in the future, would you include me or let me know that you've done that, because that's part of my, audit, that I have to have a copy of those?
Oh, I
So
thought
they're
you-
certified?
I thought you automatically checked, cause, yeah, it's if you go on the site,
But
it
I've been-
says, yeah.
I've been really busy,
Okay.
so it's just an open communication. Judy includes me when she's sending the,
Yeah,
Her-
you never asked me to in the past, so I
Okay.
will do that in the future.
so work in progress still.
Yes,
Town
that
meeting.
is a work in progress. And I still have not heard from Dave Scanlon on the, planning board. I will pop him another email next
We
week.
did find, in the RSA, they talked about we appointed last week Dave as the ex officio alternate for me for the planning board.
And I never got notice of that. That's another thing
No,
where they appoint.
it does not have to be on paperwork, it's gotta be documented in the minutes of the select board meeting. And it's,
In order for me to be a voting member when Mike's absent,
Right.
has to be done.
I thought it might have to do with ex officio, but it, once again, requires time that I just,
okay, but that, we follow the RSA specifically,
but that, you said it does not
Does not require
appointment.
appointment.
so, okay, so he would fill in as an ex officio, but not an alternate, and they're two different
correct,
things.
ex officio member only.
I'm not finding anything on alternates on planning boards.
No, it's an he's a substitute for me.
Okay,
Now, the-
that I could buy,
Right.
but an alternate I
And the
wasn't
thing is, they
finding.
also found out one thing too, Dave, just like,
They did give information, there's up to 3 alternates for planning board.
Where did you get that?
It was in the.
it was in the RSA, yeah.
Alright.
I will pull that out, I'll give that to you before I leave it.
Cause it was in there, Mike.
Yeah, one of the things that we did point out too is, as an ex officio for me, if you do not, let's say something came up for vote, and it's been an ongoing issue for 3 weeks, or for 3 months, and you weren't privy to you can be privy to the videos, you can be privy to the minutes, but you still can't vote on it. The legal precedent has been said, you have to be present for all the meetings or the discussion before you can vote on it as an ex officio member.
Okay.
So that was pointed out to me by the planning board chair, so I think the good news is, a lot of the subdivisions come in as a one-night action,
Right.
and those are no-brainers. Okay, thank you, Linda.
So did you say the term paperwork was there for the signature for 3 years?
For Katafka?
Kentucky
Either
Fried
Brett
Chicken.
has it, or, what's that?
I call it Kentucky
Fried
Fried
Chicken.
Chicken.
I think Fred had them earlier, and he was passing.
He's
them
waiting
around.
for, I think they were trying to decide what date they had agreed to nominate the appointees. And they couldn't, they were having to check their cell phones for the date that they made their call and discussed it. So that's all we're waiting on.
Okay. We signed all the rest, right?
You don't sign the Katafka ones.
We know?
Those came
Those
before.
are appointed, the Katafka, the Kentucky Fried Chicken ones, those appointments are made by the chair of the Conservation Commission and the chair of the Town Forest Committee.
And those are the two that sign them.
The Board of Selectmen do not sign those papers.
Those, I think,
For some reason we did.
Fred,
sign a bunch of them.
Fred came in talking about that, and so I cornered him on the welfare. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right,
Yeah.
continue on. Mailbox items. Just got a thank you note from, the church. We gave, all 3 of us gave us a separate, contribution. They sent a
There
thank
were
you
actually
note.
5 of us.
5 of us. That was nice, thank you. All right, there was a complaint today about a resident came in, and was concerned about logs being left on the side of the road after they were pulled off last year, and they're becoming a nuisance. Lean received that, and then she got a follow-up phone call from the resident after she gave him guidance, and what did you, I'm gonna let Lean share that.
I got him in touch with a direct number of DOT, and that after a couple of tries, he did get through to the individual that's in charge of the maintenance of the roads, and he did say it was their issue after he provided him the pictures and proof, and he said he would get a crew out there to remove this, either tomorrow or by Monday, remove that from, the hazardous area of the right of way.
And as a courier lad, speaking of DOT, Bob had something to report today. Bob shared that the stop sign has been installed,
As of Saturday, yep.
Good.
so that was nice. All right, continuing on, Woody we got a note from Woody, he's gonna be talking with us later on this evening. Yeah, you wanna read that, Bob? And we also have just be aware, we had an incident report from someone who was injured at the transfer station. Yep.
Oh, it's not that.
Yeah, this is regarding the egress of this room, and during our meetings, it's just, we have an opinion from the fire chief, he so provided the opinion. Okay, there was an issue at the planning board level, and I'm gonna speak as selectmen's rep to the planning board, regarding monuments and setting the monuments. We currently have a regulation in our subdivision regulations, that when you make a subdivision, that all monuments need to be, the new monuments have to be replaced, they have to be concrete or granite, and the old monuments have to be replaced. Well, that's been challenged by a few people, but we sought legal help early in the year, and we resolved the case, but our town lawyer attorney looked at our monument regulation and said he could defend it. It may be difficult, and there's a gray area. And he highly recommended to the planning board chair that we relook our monument regulations in the subdivision regs. And that was about 2.5 months ago, and that was an action item for the planning board chair. And in the meantime, some of the surveyors weren't through the professional licensure certification for surveyors, and they're recommending the same thing, that we relook our regulations. Now, we've got a letter coming in, so I'm gonna say the planning board's already ahead of it, so it's work in progress with the planning board level. So I hope I came across clearly on that one. But there's a lot of controversy whether iron pipe, concrete, and there's a variety of different substances can be used for monuments. And that will be addressed this year at the planning board level. And for the record, that will not go before the voters, that's a subdivision regulation that's governed by the planning board directly. Okay, I have it seems like we have some movement on our utility easement, utility assessments, and there's gonna be a non-public this week with the attorney representatives will be coming in to talk to the assessing office. We're invited to that meeting so we can be educated. Lean, is that meeting?
We've already, so basically, we're very close to settling with the Eversource. And in order to discuss the settlement, it has to be done through the Board of Assessors. The selectmen should be in attendance because it's critical that everyone's on the same decision-making, and they're looking for a fairly quick turnaround response. So I did send that to you in your email, so you can read it, and
What was the date of April 10th?
it sounds promising, but you'll want to read that and then meet with the Board of Assessors next Tuesday for.
And that meeting has been posted?
It's been posted already, yeah.
Okay, so we're good to go on that one. So the next Tuesday we'll be meeting what time?
Sansucci's available by teleconference for 7:30. He responded to my email when I was trying to schedule him that he's been contacted by numerous towns and he's doing teleconferences with all of them and allocating 30 minutes. So we'll be, the board will probably go through their general business and then go into a non-public as recommended by this attorney, so that you can discuss and hear what recommendation George Sansucci has for the town.
Okay.
Lean, can you send me a text just to make sure I have that meeting time?
Yep,
Thank you.
to make it, right? You want-
Yes.
Appreciate that, yeah.
All right, I have it seems like a citizen from New York, made an interesting letter on, making some traffic improvements to the town. And I read the secondary page, I thought looked like, it was challenging writing to read. I'd like to pass these traffic recommendations to the chief, Sergeant Remenard, take a look at that and come up with his interpretation of the letter.
Okay.
And do I have consensus, gentlemen, with that, passing off the Sergeant Romer? I'll let you, have you take
I
a
think so, yeah.
I just could not, if you look at the second page and try to interpret that, Dave, you're a better person than I if you can interpret that.
I think someone of a, adult level typed the letter and is kind of interpreting what is in the handwritten a little bit, because the handwritten is very difficult to understand.
But I think Sergeant Romer and I was very familiar with traffic, could be more than helpful with us here.
Okay.
And Bob, if you can read this, you're a better person than me.
He's
Not
got a little
that.
alien, and he might get that.
Okay, we have a leave request for one of our town employees from the 6th to the 10th. I'm gonna approve it.
That is the week that we are on summer leave, so I'll just remind the board that you have to, still have to come in and approve the payroll and account payable, and,
What's
That leave request. We have just a letter from the police department reminding us as upcoming events and an activity log, but just drug take back day, April 27th, 10 AM to 2 PM at the Dunbarton Police Fire Station, and bicycle rodeo in June 9th. And we still have a crime going on in this town, but not epidemic.
both of those have been posted on the homepage of the website.
Okay, continuing saga of Page's Corner. It seems like remember I said that we were number 4 in Central Regional Planning? Well, the scoring subcommittee's recommendations were accepted, and they're in a 10-year plan with our recommendations going forward from the Central Regional. So work continues on it positively.
So that's the letter from Donna White, who attends the
Central Transportation,
TAC meeting, it's
right.
Transportation Advisory Committee meeting.
Yeah. And she just wants to keep the selectmen informed of what they're talking about.
That's till next year's
Well,
10-year plan.
10-year plan, right. We're in the plan, that's the bottom line. Okay, I think I have the inbox taken care of. I'm gonna take it out for public comment again. Nate?
I took the, Nate Narrows, Dunbarton.
Yes.
I took the time to, write up a proposal for the acoustics in this room, sort of drown out some of the noise. Would
Okay.
you like to take a look at it?
Share with the town administrator at your convenience,
Okay,
okay? And, you see
I
the
have
gen-
samples here if you'd like to look at
do you
them.
see the gentleman next to you?
I did see.
Do you know who he is?
Yes. we
Okay.
spoke, when was it?
Recently, I hope.
Tuesday.
Okay. Nate's pursuing his CDL, and the thing is, as a backup driver for you, I thought he might be able to coordinate with you, maybe you can work something out.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I wanted him to reach out to you. And so, Nate, if you just continue that dialogue with that gentleman, he's the man you gotta convince to work with, okay? All
We'll get
right,
it done together.
okay, that's all I ask, but you gotta have the credential. All right, and anything, you're in the agenda later on, Woody, okay? Back to the board, I'm gonna start with Dave first.
I think I'm good this week, Mike. I'll be looking into some issues with the town hall
Okay.
administration committee next week, so maybe I'll have some stuff from that.
Okay, make sure you talk to Bob, he had an issue, he just wanted to share.
Well, I already talked,
Okay, excellent, and I'm gonna go right to Bob,
I'm all set.
okay. Lean, to you, there's a couple maintenance projects going, I know they're in project, we've talked about the library,
The door,
It's
yeah.
already, it's a work in progress?
Yep, it's, his quote came in very reasonable, just over $200, I gave him,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and take care of that.
Okay, to talk
Do
about
we
this,
need to give you consensus? or-
no, we already did.
We already did, yep.
And the server is in the process of being replaced, the server here,
Yeah, we had some issues, yesterday that, we have a monitoring that goes to our, tech support, and they were able to identify that one of the drives, we have 3 of them in the server, one of them was beginning to fail, and it gives a certain, code to our tech, and they contacted Dell. When we purchased it, went with the extended warranty, and it was a pretty, good warranty, so this is the second time a drive has failed. This time they got it before it completely died. So
Okay.
they were in today to install it, and, we barely saw a lag. He just said that we'd have to see a little bit of slow time with, some of the uploading, because it was, recalculating on a new drive, but
Okay,
went very smooth.
all right. Anything else?
I will be working again this Saturday just to finish up with, reconciling. We've come a long way, and, it's given me a lot of good tips, and I think, it's worked out well to be alone and quiet when there's not a lot of interruptions, so.
Okay. Lean also was talking about, we allow the planning department to close for one afternoon a week, where they close the door, they can work, just to go to meetings, work groups, they can close to do their work. I was talking with Allison, and Allison suggested, like, on maybe Monday mornings, we could think about closing the office for a general service. So that, again, Monday mornings are half a day, that's the biggest time to do the payroll. I don't wanna have any screw ups of payroll, everyone wants to get paid and paid correctly. And, I think that might be, so I want the administrator, I directed her to at least look at that and consider, closing for half a day, where they can just close and do internal stuff without being bothered by the public. And I just wanna hear your ideas, guys.
My only thought on that is, I don't mind sometime during the week, but a Monday morning seems like the morning that so many people would wanna come in, and just even ask a quick question.
Yeah,
And if we're closed Monday morning, it'd be like, they wouldn't come till Tuesday, cause you know, if they're working or whatever, but
yeah,
I'm thinking a Monday afternoon, or any afternoon probably wouldn't bother me, but a Monday morning would be awful tough for me to.
well, can I just say that for the last week, I've tried to change, the office atmosphere just a little bit by closing the door and posting that the office was for payroll, accounts payable, and, assessing, and that the office hours were open these days, enter here. And just having the door closed, I think, kept people coming up from in, unless they had business. And we didn't have many interruptions. I asked Allison how she felt with the door shut, and she said it's really nice to have it quiet. So I think what we're looking for is to maybe just try get a little bit quieter atmosphere so that there's fewer interruptions. But the few that do come in are shortened because they know the door's shut, we're there to do some work, and they don't tend to stay long.
Right, I
Those
was
are open all the
wondering how
time.
much traffic you get on a Monday morning.
Well, I think the problem is that we get the traffic and we hear it throughout the whole office. There's no, if someone's coming in looking for the town
Right, no,
clerk.
I mean, but how much traffic, if the door's closed even, how many people actually have to come into the office?
Mostly the department heads, they have to provide us with their payroll
Okay.
and their billing, so,
And that would be very acceptable.
So, yeah, so that's not, I don't think it's problematic, you know?
yeah.
And if someone does have an important question.
They have business,
They're
they
certainly-
knock and
certainly
open the
gonna come
door
in.
and say, may I come in, and it's not an issue.
Then I would just, we delay that for now, but consider it as an option in the future if it's needed.
Right,
Yeah, the one thing I will like to say is, when I wasn't a selectman and when I was part of just people coming up from the public, when you come into a building like this, a town building, and the door is closed and not open,
mhm,
it's almost like you're closed for business, you feel uncomfortable going in there, especially if you're not familiar with the building or the people in here, if you're a new person here. And I know I go to many other towns pulling building permits and working with different towns, and, a lot of them will have a half door.
yeah,
But that top door is always open in all those departments when their hours of business are there.
mhm,
Not to say that an afternoon or something to finish payroll or even get prep for this meeting,
mm,
like they do before the planning board, wouldn't be acceptable. But during regular business hours, I would rather the door be open only for the simple fact that I've been in here before and not felt very comfortable going in there because the door was closed.
Well, maybe I need to emphasize more enter here, because I think I had no issues with people knocking or opening the door, because it said hours of operation, enter here. So they knew that we were there for business for these hours, but we had the door closed so that we had a little bit quieter, times in the office. It really worked out well. I asked, Linda, we both have had disagreements with, the volume of whether it's two men talking and how it's critical that they have concentration when they're doing vehicle registrations. And I spoke to the deputy as well to see if this was, an issue, if we closed our door, or were we making too much noise? I asked both the questions. Are we too loud when there's 3 of us or 5 of us, because there's 3 sitting at a desk, 2 people standing at the counter that may be department heads, the noise level gets really loud, and when one person at one desk is just doing something critical, it's just really important to have a little bit of quiet.
Since he's only done it for a week, why don't we just let it go for a little bit and see how it works?
I mean, I don't have a problem with changing the sign to say, enter here, 8 to 4, for these, to, really bold it, but I didn't hear any complaints. We did notaries, provided tax bills.
All I can tell you
so-
is how I felt coming in this building when the doors were closed before,
Do you have your glasses
and
Right? Okay.
Go ahead.
Interject?
on? Sure.
Well, Monday is also the day that Donna comes in and she draws other people in. And I've been here where it's really loud in that hallway there.
It really does get
And
loud.
so,
And-
you get a conglomeration of people in and out and moving around. They'll be paying their registering vehicle, and then they bump into myself or Donna Dunn or my wife or something, and this conversation ensues into that hallway and it flows in there. So I understand what you're saying, cause
Yeah.
it does get loud in there.
Yeah,
I think in all ends of the building, it gets loud when there's 2 or 3 here, like
yeah,
when Ken's down here discussing a plan or something, it's fairly loud.
yeah.
Why don't I just make a recommendation that we, leave it at the discretion of the town administrator until we hear issue problems.
Because I've also said, to, I think Linda was on vacation, and I pointed out to Hope, if we're too loud, please let us know, or you have a door that you can close as well, because she did say that there's some critical registration that she really needs to focus on that screen for vehicle registration so she doesn't make a mistake. And she said she didn't even realize she had a door, because there were often times that she didn't wanna be rude to tell us to be quiet, but, the noise does travel. So,
Let use the town manager's discretion, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think for now, I think we gotta try it out and get some feedback from the public.
yeah,
I just don't want the public to come in, like, say she did close her door and your door was closed,
yeah,
and then these people decide, well, we'll close ours down here, right?
yeah.
You're coming into a building that doesn't look very user-friendly.
You know what's one,
There's no other town that I walk into this like that.
Goffstown's like that, cause I had to go and
I
to
go to
the,
Goffstown all the time.
well, the town clerk is on a separate office. And
All
then,
the doors are open.
right, but they're all in separate offices, and there's one main, so you really have your own room that's controlling your noise level in your room. Because when I go down to the town administrator down the
They're
end,
all open and they go to one hallway.
right,
It's a bigger building, so you have more separation.
right,
Their doors are all open, they all go to a central
Yep.
hallway.
Yep.
And they all have adjoining back doors as well. So,
no,
Well, and when we get the big dollars with the nuclear power plant opening in Dunbarton, when we get the tax revenues come in, we can have glass doors put in.
I just don't wanna be shutting people out. I'm fairly brazen, I felt uncomfortable, like Leo can walk into any room probably and find his way to where he wants to go.
Yeah,
Some
that's-
people are not like that.
but
You
we
know.
have nice professional signs on there saying town clerk's office on gold plaques, and I have one in mine, but it also references doors closed during this period for welfare, it's non-public, but, the one thing I did notice last week, we had some cold temperatures, and I hadn't realized that, oftentimes Allison is saying, I'm so cold, and we turn the heat up. Last week I closed the door, and I didn't hear any complaints, we had some cold days, but it's noticeably different when the wind is opening the door, because we have the bar unlocked. That door opens and you feel the cold air coming down underneath our cubicle areas, and you feel it around your feet.
Glass
And-
doors. Glass doors.
So we went from talking about
So there were
closing it
benefits,
for an afternoon or a morning.
but there were benefits to having it closed, to get
Keeping it
some
closed
really
all
good.
week now, or what do we do?
Well, the thing is, we're just gonna leave it at the discretion to close the door as the town administrator says.
I just think my office, personally, 3 people in the office gets loud, and I agree, it does get loud. But then, you know, I just,
So what do you want to do? Do you wanna close it all the time?
I would like to try to close the door. I mean, I know summertime may come and it will be too hot and we'll have to open the door, but it's just trying to get everybody programmed to talk it's difficult to get people to lower their voices so that people can get their work done and without a lot of interruption. We really have filled this building to the max with, every space that we have, that we use on a daily basis with, the different departments and committees that come in here. We're almost double booked at this point with, meetings in the afternoon and evening, so.
I'd say leave it to the discretion of the town administrator.
I mean, if I hear complaints, I will listen to those complaints, but for this last week, I heard no problems. People opened the door regularly. It just kept us comfortable with the cold temperatures. And then, it really, Allison's had some personal things going on in her life and she just really needed to focus. It worked out well. I've gotten a lot of my, necessary paperwork ready for my audit and, my CPA. So it's been beneficial for myself as well. I mean, if I hear from the other girls that they don't want to have the door closed, then I'll consider doing that. But I do get a lot of, work done when I close that door. And, tonight I had, Hope open my door and say, "Excuse me, Lean, I have someone looking for a pistol permit. Do you know if we've received that?" I handled it. It was after hours, but it's not an issue for us to take that interruption for that short amount of time, but it enables us to get back on track a little bit quicker.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to me now. Last week, we had an issue about the, town pound, and we
I
had
saw
we had some movement this
I
week.
saw it.
Okay, well, I wanna share with these gentlemen have
I
not.
didn't get to see it yet,
This is,
I saw it this
this is
afternoon.
before,
you know?
the corner. This is what they cut. Only one picture of it, and this is what it looks like in the end. And if you notice, the wall right here is intact. I went on the inside, it looks intact. However, I'm now stonemason, so I can't comment on if these roots are causing it. But he cut branches, some of the branches were that round.
Yeah.
And a good first step,
Looks, yeah.
good first step. And he's also suggested, as he goes around the pound, around the other exterior, which is his land borders, he's gonna cut some of those, some of those, trash trees. We've got a few birches and some small maples around the corner. So, I think, what the discussion last week may have, created a little movement. I think it's good, and I think it's great that citizens stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
So, I think for the
I
time.
did see him visiting his wife last week, and
Yeah,
I
no,
told
right,
him-
you
it
said-
came up on the agenda, and I said, you know, spring's here, and we would like to get on it, so that was good that he reacted pretty fast.
Quickly, yeah, so, I'd say, we just continue to monitor, and, we may have some more work for the hog reeves, inside the, later on. And on the opposite side of that, where that yew tree is, where I found, someone educated me there was a pine tree years ago that fell there.
Mhm.
So that wall's still in
That's why
disrepair.
it has that big dip in the back.
Yeah, so there's definitely some repair work, and we may wanna consider down the road hiring someone who's familiar with stone walls to rebuild that side. And maybe you guys, if you have your leisure, walk around in the pound and think about that.
I thought the same thing after we cleaned the brush, you could see, you know, a lot of stones have slid down, and if it was pointed up with some stonework, it would look a lot
Raised
nicer.
up, yeah.
Yeah, and the door could use some work, so that's something, take a look at it, and we can discuss it next week, maybe, or the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Alright, so. Alright, I am done with the inbox, so let's, I could take a recess before we go into non-public, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'd like to do some treating this one.
Yeah, okay.